Okay, we're back. The hunter is in a really bad spot right now. We've already discussed it for the most part, but we're going to go ahead and touch on it from MM. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at the mastery, sniper training. This got changed from WoD, thankfully, because I didn't much care for the mastery in WoD, because you had to sit still in order for it to proc. Wasn't wild about it. But the range now, the range of all your abilities is increased by 10%, and the damage of all focus spending abilities is increased by 41%. So basically, it's your mastery is whatever your range is, and then it's multiplied by 4 to give you the increased damage. Now, this is obviously going to be scaled down for PvP. There's no way they could let this slide for PvP, but I can say that of all the masteries that hunters have, this one feels the most complete. To me, anyway. You know, survivals is completely based around getting more mongoose bite procs, whereas in Bestial Wrath is completely based around getting your, maximizing your pet's damage. So, there you go. This one actually feels like it benefits the hunter the most because it not only increases your damage of all your abilities, but also grants you further extended range. Granted, I'm going to go ahead and say it, that's about it for the Marksman Hunter. We might as well just stop right here because everything else, nothing. Nothing looks good. Nothing is promising. And honestly, the playstyle is very disappointing. But let's go ahead and get into it. Starting with, of course, the artifact tree. Alright, so starting with the first thing on the list, Windburst. Okay, so I really slammed Beast Mastery artifact weapon, but for the most part, its single point abilities were good. There was one that I didn't like, the Storm God one, the one that procced with multi-shot. Didn't care for that one, didn't like it. But as far as like artifact trait ability, like you actively are using, this is the worst ability of any class, any spec, across the board, period, end of discussion, right here. I could go on a rant all day about that right there. This ability, right here, do you read it? Do you see it? Right here, boys. This is so, mind-boggling that they would do this. 20 focus, 20-second cooldown, 1.5 second cast, focuses the power of wind through Thaz-Dara, dealing 190,000 physical damage to your target, leaving a trail of wind behind for 5 seconds, increases your movement speed of all allies by 50%. Okay, so in no way, shape, form, or fashion is that ever going to benefit our Marksman Hunter? When in God's name would a Marksman Hunter ever go towards his target? I don't know. I don't have a clue. I don't have the first inkling of an idea. What, maybe you want a bursting shot or binding shot? Why in God's name would you go towards the target? Why use it if you don't have to? Stay at maximum range. Do your thing, man. You're a Marksman Hunter, for God's sake. Take them out. You know what I'm saying? Put a bullet right here. One arrow in this case, between the eyes, man. It's your job. Do damage. But no, Blizzard's going to give you some dumb mechanic that's going to increase your movement speed toward the target. Even in PvE, this is never going to come in handy, because the moment the fight even starts, melee is going to be charging, heroic leaping, or whatever you want to call it, already into the target. This does nothing. This does nothing. I don't know why I had a Russian accent there, but this does nothing. This does nothing for us. Nothing. It's the only thing this thing does is applies vulnerability to target right here. It applies either Deadeye or vulnerability, whichever talent you take. It applies vulnerability to the target. It's the only thing Windburst is good for. It does significant. It does good. It does good damage. Not gonna lie, its damage is nice, but the movement speed is just, like I said, I could go on a rant about this for an hour, but moving on. Okay, increases aim shots damage by 12%. Okay, this recently got buffed. Cool with it. But going back to wind burst just real quick. Movement speed. I'd be far better off. I'd be more okay with this if this was castable while moving. This is what I would do. Reduce the damage that it does. Allow us to cast it while on the move, and while casting only, and when we are casting this, we, just us, the hunters ourselves, only our hunters should be allowed, like the hunter himself, casting Windburst, not anybody else, no Trail of Wind, none of that garbage. We, the hunters, for that 1.5 seconds that we are casting this ability, should be granted that 50% movement speed increase. I think that would really add an air of mystery and gameplay to the playstyle. You'd actually be able to use it on the move. You can have an instant burst of speed to really aid us. That would kind of make up for losing old school aspect of the cheetah. Because to me, when I hear wind burst, I don't hear trail of wind. I hear just burst of speed. Just a burst of wind just uplifting us. Giving us a quick movement speed increase while we're channeling it. On the move. To me, that's how I feel like this should work. All I'm going to say on it. So, moving on. Alright, so called shots increases damage dealt by multi-shot by 10%. Wind burst also applies Deadeye to the target. We already covered this. That's the only thing that makes wind burst even useful. That's it. Working wind burst into your rotation, standing still right now, applies Deadeye, or it applies vulnerability. Honestly, vulnerable would just kind of makes this pointless, but this actually comes in handy when using your patient sniper prop. But again, I digress. Aside from that, wind burst feels almost pointless. Aspect of the turtle heals you for 40% of your maximum health over its duration. This is a lot similar to Bestial Wrath, 30%. Legacy of the Windrunner, aim shot has a chance to coalesce 6 extra wind arrows that also shoot towards your target. This procs quite often, and it can also proc on your lock and load proc, so this is kind of nice. Increases the damage by mark shot by 10%. Reduces the cooldown of bursting shot by 15%. Increases critical strike damage dealt by aim shot by 10%. Okay. Now, all these seem all great and nice and wonderful. Is anybody starting to feel like we're getting a lot of minor stuff? Like, for example, increased damage, increased crit damage, increased damage. You know what I'm saying? Like, by this point in the BM artifact weapon, we were getting healed by kill command partial of its damage did additional damage. You know what I'm saying? Oh. How could I forget? We had a second pet by now. I'm not saying marksmen should have a second pet. I'm just saying, like, this is the significance that BM's artifact weapon, as many holes that were in it, had compared to where we are now with marksmanship. Feels mediocre. Yes, me. Really mediocre. This is the problem marksmen are having right now, is that our artifact weapons traits are, at their best, mediocre. And we're about to go over the best artifact trait in the entire tree right now. True Shot also increases your critical strike damage by 50% during its duration. That's it. Best trait right there on a 3-minute cooldown. No, by the way, 2.5 minute cooldown thanks to the artifact weapon. 2 minutes if you want to take the honor talent. But honestly, if you want burst, that's about the best you're going to get in this entire tree. The next one is Mark Shots. Increases your aim shot critical strike chance against target by 6% for 6 seconds. They've nerfed this, I just noticed. So, yeah. Thank you, Blizzard. That used to be a lot more. So, now our aim shots are going to crit even less when used in conjunction with Mark Shot. So, what are we just supposed to just hope and pray that aim shot crits? Because, I mean, it already does less damage than Mark Shot does. You know? Why would I even waste my time channeling an aim shot? Because I got to sit still to channel it anyway. And its crit chance is almost minimal now. I don't know. Just wondering. When abilities damage a target below 20% health, you gain 3% increased critical strike chance for 6 seconds, stacking up to 30 times. Okay, so if I'm pounding on something for that's got 20% less health, what in the world makes you think that I'm going to be hitting that same target 30 times? I'm sorry, if it's at 20% health and it takes me 30 chances to kill it, yeah, I'm not sure Blizzard thought this one through. This has got way too much ramp-up time. Way too much ramp-up time. You know what this should do? Like, you remember how, like, Kill Command would have, like, no cooldown when used with Beast of Wrath if you used it in conjunction with Cobra Shot? Pew pew, pew pew, pew pew. How about give us something like that? How about Aim Shot is now castable while on the move, or better yet, is cast time is reduced by half, or maybe, oh, I don't know, instant cast for that duration. If it's below 20% health, you're trying to kill it. You're trying to put the target down. Well, we used to have Kill Shot, for God's sake. Or better yet, just replace this with Kill Shot. Problem solved. But, I don't know. This feels like it's got way too much ramp-up time. Huge weakness in the artifact tier already. Precision increases critical strike chance of Mark Shot. Okay, now we're back to these mediocre abilities. When Mark Shot is used, Zera has a chance to call forth a barrage of wind arrows to strike all vulnerable targets. This is nice. I mean, it's basically what Legacy of the Windrunners is, except instead of affecting Aim Shot, it's now Mark Shot. So, I kind of like both of these abilities. I just wish that, you know, Mark Shot and Aim Shot were actually, oh, I don't know, manageable in an actual real-world environment. We'll get into that in a minute. You'll see what I mean. Activating Disengage reduces all damage taken by you by 10% for 4 seconds. Okay, so I like where they're going with this. But honestly, I still gotta know, why is this a marksmanship only trait? I mean, is this supposed to make up for the fact that marksman or BM hunters have a heal? Because let me tell you, if that's what it's supposed to do, this is pathetic. If this is supposed to be even Steven with that heal, this is pathetic. This is only happen every 20 seconds, and it only lasts for 4 seconds. Whereas they get healed for, you know, 25, 30,000 damage every 6 seconds. And that's even if Kill Command doesn't even crit. If it crits, they're going to get healed for close to 50,000. I don't know. I feel like this is laughable. This is seriously laughable. You know what I'm saying? Warlocks have something with this, with Life Tap, except Life Tap doesn't have a cooldown, I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't have a cooldown, so they can just poof, 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 poof. And as much healing as they have, well, there you go. Whereas in ours is a 20-second cooldown. I mean, unless you took Farstrider, which no hunter I know is going to seriously think about taking Farstrider. So I don't know. I would much rather see our heal back. Honestly, I would rather see, y'all remember the Glyph of Liberation from the glyphs that we used to have? Make Disengage heal us for, say, I don't know, 5% of our maximum health every time we use it. That would actually be nice. I'd rather see that than a damage reduction, because the fact that it only lasts 4 seconds is abysmal. Like, literally abysmal. So, yeah. Arcane Shot, its critical strikes now generate 5 additional focus. Nope, still don't like this, because the fact that you could just spam this endlessly. This feels almost worthless. Like, marksmanship hunters can't even get rid of their focus fast enough. We can't. Literally, we cannot get rid. You literally cannot get rid of your focus fast enough. Because by the time you're done spamming arcane shots, waiting for your freaking mark shots to proc, there you go. So this feels really dumb. I don't understand why this is even here. Like, give us something else, Blizzard. Come on, think of something. Think outside the box. I got some great ideas. Don't get me started on my ideas, though. True Shot, or rather Quick Shot, reduces the cooldown of True Shot by 30 seconds. We've already discussed this at length. So let's go ahead and review, boys. Worst artifact ability. Terrible ramp-up time. Terrible replacement for a heal. Much rather this heal us for 5% of our health, like Liberation used to. yeah, this is way too low. So Blizzard, if you would, please actually change this from a critical strike chance. I'd rather see cast time reduced. How about every time we use mark shot, it decreases the cast time of aim shot by, say, oh, I don't know, 50%? It's an idea. Just throwing it out there. That'd be cool. Because right now I'm looking at this and I'm like, ugh, that's like pointless. Why would I even give a crap about that, honestly? The rest of these, crit chance, damage, crit damage, these are mediocre, man. Like, not only are these mediocre, but these are mediocre numbers, bro. Like, kill command was like 15%. What the heck? Multi-shot for BM was 15%, for God's sake. What the heck, man? Like, Blizzard, you know, let's see a, you know, let's get some of these numbers to kind of get some action going here. Let's get a little lift going here, because these are, you know, mediocre. You know what I'd rather see? I would rather see Mark Shot heal us for a percentage of its damage. I would rather see, no, this is a joke. Bursting Shot itself is a joke. I'll cover that in here in a minute, but like, I would rather see this, I don't know, reduce the cooldown of, say, let's say it reduces the cooldown on Aspect of the Cheetah. Bestial Wrath Hunters have it, why can't Marksman Hunters have it? I don't see what the whole difference is between them and Marksman anyway. We're both ranged classes, so why wouldn't we get a reduction on Cheetah's cooldown? I don't know. Ask Blizzard. So, anyway, I'm just making the point. These are mediocre, and even if they're not mediocre, their numbers are still lower than BM's. I mean, our bread and butter ability is Mark Shot, and its damage is still 10%, whereas in Bestial Wrath is 15%. We don't even get healed for it, so I'd like to see that change, or at least make Disengage heal us. I don't know. Give us something, because these feel... I mean, they're not as glaring weaknesses as BM's are. I mean, these two definitely are glaring weaknesses, along with this one. I mean, Arcane Shot I can live with, but I don't think it's really necessary. But these three are just yuck. Way too much ramp up time. This is pathetic. And this, like, there's no point in doing a Mark Shot, Aim Shot combo right now, because the critical strike chance is just so low. So, I don't know. It's up to Blizzard, but that's just how I see it. Moving on to the talents. Lone Wolf, Steady Focus, Careful Aim, Lock and Load, Black Arrow, True Aim, blah, 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 blah. Not going over this tier. I'll briefly touch on this tier. We've already covered Wavering Sting and Binding Shot. And this tier is the same. I'm not going to go over this. Let's just go over the stuff we hadn't covered yet. Lone Wolf. Okay, so this is what it's always been for Marksman Hunters for a long time. I personally don't like it. Never have liked it, because, like, to me, Hunters have always had pets. It wasn't until a few expansions ago that this was even an option. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, I can't give up my pet, because of one particular item being, well, for Warlords it was both Roar, Sacrifice, and Master's Call. But since we lost Master's Call, that's not even a thing anymore, unless you're Survival, which I still, for the love of God, I can't figure out for the life of me why Master's Call is given to a melee spec hunter and not given to the range class. I was like, what? Like, if anybody needs to get freed from a root, it's the range spec. We don't want no deadgum hunter or no hunter. We don't, well, if it's a survival hunter, we don't want no deadgum melee class getting on top of us, rooting us, closing the gap on us. Heck no. My God, the freaking the survival hunter's already got Harpoon, and it's already worked into its artifact weapon. As you'll see here in a minute, work into its artifact weapon that their Harpoon can come off cooldown way faster than we can get disengaged back. I said, I'm wondering, Blizzard, again, like, to me, I just feel like Master's Call is way more beneficial to the range spec hunters than it is the melee hunters. I don't know. Just guessing. I don't know. Or maybe if you could, like, I don't know, work in the whole freedom from roots thing into Aspect of the Cheetah and make Cheetah actually feel a bit more beneficial than it does now, because right now you might as well not even have that on your bar, because it's essentially pathetic and worthless. I mean, a 3-minute sprint that gives you the lowest speed increase of any sprint in the entire game. My God, A warrior using heroic leap can cover more ground than you do with aspect of the Cheetah. Anybody else see an issue with that? This guy does, I'll tell you what. But moving on. Increases damage by 18%, but you can no longer use call pet. Alright, so no pet. Got it. Increases damage by 18%. You're thinking, oh wow, that's a lot of damage. Yes, it can be. But I would rather see this be reduce the damage increase a little bit, like 12 to 15%. Make it 12 or 15%. But also make it reduce damage that you take by, say, 10%. Make up for the fact that we lose Roar Sacrifice. Roar Sacrifice reduces damage taken by 20% and also guarantees you can't be crit for those 12 seconds, whereas in Lone Wolf could just reduce your damage taken by 10%, period, across the board. And make up for not having a pet, especially in PvE, because even if you take Black Arrow, you can still get pounded on by mobs, and if you don't have any kind of way to reduce damage, you're going to get spanked. So, I think it'd be better overall. It would fit better, it would feel better, and you'd actually feel like, you actually, for a lot of hunters, it would actually relieve their conscience a little bit, knowing, hey, I actually have a little bit of a damage mitigation if I do use Lone Wolf, because that's what 99% of the hunters that are against it, that's their argument. I don't want to lose Roar Sacrifice. Well, come to an even ground. That's all I'm saying. Steady focus. I want to throw my cup right now. Literally, I just want to take this. I just want to take this, and I want to throw it over my shoulder, sweet tea and all, because this. What? What is this? Okay, we talked about the artifact abilities. They had some weaknesses, but we talking about glaring weaknesses. I'm talking like, Say what? This is your first one. When using arcane or multi-shot 3 times the rule, increases your focus or degeneration by 25% for 12 seconds. Blizzard, do you understand the logic of what you just said? Please, can somebody explain to Blizzard what I'm about to say? Blizzard, if I use arcane shot or multi-shot 3 consecutive times the way you've designed it, I shouldn't need any more focus because I'm going to be freaking spent. That's going to be 30 or 40 focus right there. Even if it's the bare minimum, dude. 15 focus. Alright? 15 focus. And let's face it, nothing literally, unless you're sitting there and spamming aim shot off the global cooldown, which I promise you, unless you're PvE, there's no hunter that's doing that in PvP. It ain't happening. You ain't got the time, you ain't got the resources, or dare I say, the opportunity to get that off. It ain't happening. It is not happening. So this is pathetic. This is worthless. This makes no sense to me. There's no way anybody's going to take this. Nobody in their right mind looks at this and says, this is going to be wonderful. This is even Steven with even the mighty Lone Wolf. Okay, Blizzard, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now what you need to do with this. You need to change this to what Marksmanship's mastery was in Warlords. Standing still for 2 seconds in combat increases your focus regeneration and haste by 3% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Boom, done. And as long as you remain standing, stationary, still, however you want to call it, you maintain that 15%, those 5 stacks of 15% increased haste and focus regeneration. Boom! Holy crap! You have a viable PvE, and dare I say, even if you could actually work those 2 seconds of standing still in combat into your PvP rotation. That's just long enough for you to get an aim shot off. So if you stopped like every 3 or 4 seconds to get off a quick aim shot, you can maintain this. No problem. No problem. But it would actually be even more beneficial to PvE players that wanted to keep their pets. Because you have 15% more haste, and you have 15% more focus regeneration, and you don't have to worry about a thing. You don't have to worry about anything. And the ramp-up times, Easy. Stacks up to 5 times every 2 seconds, 10 seconds. Boom, you're at full 5 stacks. Done. Easy peasy. Easy money. Boom, done. Congratulations, Zera. You got all the answers. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Moving on to the next one. Care for lamb. Oh, dear God, I'm going to lose my lunch. Okay, or actually dinner, lunch, and breakfast. Okay, so this is similar to Big Game Hunter for BM. Similar but different. Aim shot, arcane shot, mark shot, multi-shot. 20% increased critical strike damage. Targets with 80% health. Those critical strikes deal additional 30% damage over 8 seconds. So it applies the bleed effect. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, not gonna slam this one as hard as it did Steady Focus. It's not that bad, but it's still way further down the line than Lone Wolf is. Okay, this again, I can't figure out why Blizzard. I understand why for BM, because it procced like their like most coveted abilities that they want to have procced, which is Dire Beast or Dire Frenzy, so they can get their bestial ass off faster. Alright, I understand that. Matter of fact, there's a certain gameplay that you can actually exploit that. But this, there's no way to really exploit this. It doesn't. The damage doesn't roll over. I've tested this. The bleed doesn't reapply, and the damage doesn't get rolled over. The bleed gets reapplied. It just gets reapplied. New damage replaces it, whether it was higher damage, lower damage. So this can actually hurt you, but it's just not always there. So what I'd like to see is this. What I'd like to see this is aim shot, arcane mark, and multi-shots damage, or rather, aimed, arcane mark, and multi-shot have 20% increased crit chance against targets with vulnerability applied, or Deadeye if you take Patient Sniper, and those critical strikes deal an additional 15% damage over time as bleed damage, and this damage rolls over if the damage is then reapplied. So basically what you have now is you have the ability to exploit vulnerability even further. Okay? Plus it applies bleed damage that rolls over. The percentages can get tweaked, of course, but this is just you change those, this entire tier gets evened out. Because right now, literally, I almost feel like you have to take Lone Wolf to even be viable, regardless of what you're doing. So, here we go. Level 30 tier. Okay, so again, we're locked into one ability, boys. I'll give you 3 guesses which one it is. Lock and load. As it stands, if you're PvPing or PvEing, either one, if you're trying to maximize your damage output, lock and load, man, all the way. It's the only way you can go. Your ranged auto attacks have an 8% chance to trigger lock and load, causing your next 2 aim shots to cost no focus and be instant. Now, when I first saw it, I said, oh, yay, lovely, just like Survival Hunters, except there's just one problem. This feels like it doesn't proc often enough. Like, it feels like that 8% is really minimal. But then I was like, okay, well, how fast are my auto attacks? Well, I come in here and you can't even really look because you don't have attack speed anymore. They took that away. So I'm guessing that based on our attack speed from our weapon, 3 seconds at 4% increased haste, we're probably sitting somewhere around like, 2.9 second auto attack. So you have a 8% chance every basically 3 seconds to proc a free lock and load, or proc 2 free aim shots that are instant. Does that feel that strong to you guys? Honestly, it doesn't to me. You know what I'd like to see done? I'd like to see this done. Change this. Oh, this is another thing too. This actually interferes with your rotation. It really does. Think about this for a minute now. Alright, so you just got Mark shot to proc. Alright? Now, if you take Patient Sniper especially, you're going to want to use Mark Shot, right? Right. Well, what procs Mark Shot to begin with? Well, Hunter's Mark. Well, what procs Hunter's Mark? Well, your Arcane Shots or your Multi-Shots spread Hunter's Mark. Let's take a look. Your auto shots have a chance to cause your next Arcane or Multi-Shot to apply Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark activates Mark Shot. Okay. So, like, what if you get a Mark Shot to proc, aim shot or Mark Shot or Hunter's Mark comes up, Mark Shot's proc, but lock and load hadn't procced yet. Well, you're going to wait a couple of seconds. Hopefully it'll come up. That's basically what we're having to do. Especially if you take Patient Sniper. You play in the waiting game. Or you just, you just spend your mark shots ASAP and hope and pray that lock and load procs. But honestly, it doesn't, and half the time it procs after you've already expelled your mark shot. So now you're just like, oh crap. Now I either have like half a window to use them, or I'm only going to be able to get one aim shot off in that window. Here's what they can do to kind of fix that. It would actually benefit us. Reduce the percentage down to like 5%, 4 or 5%, and make it trigger on arcane, arcane, multi, and auto shots. Make it trigger on those 3 abilities. That way, when it actually triggers with an arcane shot, it actually has a chance to proc in conjunction with a mark shots application. That way you can multi-shot and then immediately aim shot. That would actually make the rotation feel a lot more simpler. I don't know, man. I'm just throwing it out there. To me, that sounds like it could work. It feels like that would work a lot better than 8% chance every 3 seconds, which is essentially what we got. Just throwing it out there, boys. Because you can get a lot more off in a global cooldown than you can. Essentially, you can get 2 of these off in the time that one auto shot's going to get off. So, yeah, it was just an idea. Black Arrow, I like what they did here with the whole, dark minion. So you can actually take Lone Wolf and use this in PvE when you're leveling. But I still don't like it because it doesn't last long enough. Make this last 12 seconds, not 8 seconds. Buff its damage slightly, probably up to 200,000. And make it also reset its cooldown if it's cleansed. That means you can actually use this in PvP. This could actually have a place in PvP if its cooldown was reduced, was reset, not reduced. If its cooldown was reset, if Black Arrow is cleansed, much like it was with Survival Hunters back in Warlords. Give that mechanic back to Black Arrow and increase its duration by another 4 seconds, and you got and raise its damage up by another 20,000 or so, and you got a solid talent. I don't like the fact it costs 40 focus though. Bring that back down to 35, which is what it was for Warlords and even Mop, because 40 focus just seems a bit too much. 35 focus I think was always a good place for it. True aim, this is just yay. Again, with the ramp up, I don't get what the deal is with marksmanship in the ramp up. I don't get this. Blizzard, what are you doing? But again, I digress. This ramp up time just doesn't fit the fantasy. I don't understand this. I would much rather see this. I mean, you can keep this, but let's make it 4% and let's make it 4 times. I mean, seriously. Like, enough with the ramp up. For real. Enough with the ramp up. You already got to reapply this every time you switch primary targets. You have to reapply it. So, like, you would want to use this in PvE, but it needs to also affect now, it needs to affect not just arcane shot and aim shot, but it needs to affect multi-shot and mark shot too. Maybe arcane shot and aim shot only can apply stacks, but it needs to increase the damage of all 4 shots. That's what it needs to do. There you go. How about them apples? Only only aim shot and arcane shot can apply this debuff, but it buffs the damage of all 4 of your primary shots. Just an idea, but only arcane and aim shot can reapply it. So, in order to keep it up, you gotta reuse arcane shot or aim shot. Just an idea. Throwing it out there, but that's what I think you could probably do to fix this. But right now, lock and load is an overwhelming favorite. You have to take this because otherwise, there's no way you're gonna be able to sit still long enough to get these off. And in order to maximize damage output, you have to take this in conjunction with Patient Sniper. There's just no other way around it. But even with that, like what you think on paper would be a lovely combination, it still feels clunky because, again, this doesn't proc near as often as it should. Make this proc on also arcane shot and multi-shot. Not targets hit, because then it'd be overpowered with multi-shot. Just every time you activate the ability, it has a 4% chance. So, this tier, again, I'll go over that in the generalization. This tier, this is... I got a facepalm. Yay. Okay. Patient Sniper. I don't even want to go into these two abilities, but I'm going to anyway. Explosive Shot fires a slow-moving munition directly forward. Activating this ability a second time, detonates the shot, dealing 250,000 fire damage to all enemies within 8 yards. Damage based on proximity. Okay, so sure. In theory, this is lovely. But again, I digress. This is no good. This does you absolutely no good whatsoever. Let me explain why. Alright, so why does this not work very well? Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to know is that this ability is just... it's aesthetically cool to look at, but then like it goes off, moves like a snail, and then you gotta waste another global cooldown to activate it. You have to. And then the target's not gonna move. I have the same issue with this one that I had with Stampede. It does good damage, not gonna lie, but it's never gonna land in such a way that's gonna be effective all the time. It's just not. Sure, it can get a rogue out of stealth. Sure, it can get a feral out of stealth. Sure, it can get a mage out of stealth. And it can actually do a significant amount of damage. This can crit for like 500k. Not lying. I've seen it hit that hard. But that is like 1 in a million kind of a shot. You know what I mean? It's a 1 in a million kind of a shot. This is mostly useful when leveling, because if you get like a massive amount of mobs that you pull, this can actually help you knock out a lot of lobby mobs. Or, not lobby because they're all the same level, but just like low health mobs. You know what I'm saying? Like you get a couple of minions that got like 50,000 health, boom, this will kill them in one shot. But in a practical PvE, PvP environment, it's not going to be effective. This is going to, this is even weaker than Sentinel. The ability to call up 2 free Hunter's Marks on demand, this is awesome. The problem I have with Sentinel, though, is that I don't feel like that fits the fantasy either. I feel like this should be a PvP honor talent, and I'll go into later reasons why. But the ability to apply 2 Hunter's Marks to all applies Hunter's Mark to all nearby enemies near the target. Same range as all your abilities. Sure, that's great. But it's 30-second recharge? 30-second recharge, Blizzard? I don't know. Blizzard. I felt better when this was 20 seconds. It felt actually competitive with Patient Sniper when this was a 20-second cooldown. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like this ability anymore, because sure, it's nice to have Hunter's Mark on demand, but even then, it's not that great. It's not that great. It's just a free mark shot. It's literally all it boils down to. That's all this is. You've got to take Patient Sniper on this tier. You have to. Gain Patience of a Veteran Sniper, increasing your maximum focus by 30. So we go from 120 to 150. And causes vulnerable to increase your mark shot and aim shot damage by 150%, but only lasts 6 seconds and no longer stacks. Originally, you get 25% per stack and stacks up to 3 times. And it can be maintained easily, because vulnerability lasts like, what is it, 20 or 30 seconds? I can't even remember, to be honest. Let's go in here and look. See if we can find, where's vulnerability at? It's not even on here, but I'm pretty sure it's roughly about 20 to 30 seconds. It's easy to maintain if you don't take Patient Sniper, but Patient Sniper makes it just to where it's literally a 6-second debuff, which, like I said on paper, you combine this with Lock and Load and you're like, oh, that's a deadly combo. It's really clunky, actually. It's almost impossible to get this and this to proc together, and when it does proc, sure, it feels nice, but then you're like, well, that's all I'm using Patient Sniper for. And you actually want to kill yourself when this procs, when your mark shot procs and Lock and Load doesn't proc, but you can't do anything else with it, because by the time you get your mark shot off with this, you can wind burst, get vulnerability stacked, because otherwise you're not going to get the 150 damage increase from mark shot. The only way you mark shot can benefit from this is if Patient Sniper is already up. If Deadeye is already active on the target, otherwise Mark shot does not get that 150% damage increase. Essentially, this means the only thing that's going to benefit from this is aim shot, because almost never are you going to be able to get a mark shot proc while this is up. So what you have to do, if you want to benefit from both mark shot and aim shot benefiting from this, you have got to wind burst first into your mark shot, into a either channel aim shot or multiple lock and load procs. Well, I say multiple, just one lock and load proc for multiple aim shots. So that's how you can do that. That's how you can maximize Patient Sniper. A lot of hunters don't realize that you can actually apply Deadeye with Windburst. You can. It works with the artifact trait. It's a good combo. You get the 150% damage increase to both mark shot and both aim shots from lock and load. It's a nice little burst. But again, that can't happen all the time, because that means you got a lock and load proc in conjunction with your mark shot proc. That's when you can start being a little, preemptive with when to use Windburst, because right now that's the only time you'd want to use it. Unless you say got a lock and load proc, but you didn't have a hunter's mark and you want to get these off with Patient Sniper applied, then you can Windburst into back-to-back aim shots from lock and load, and they'll benefit from Patient Sniper's buff without having to worry about applying it with mark shot first. But then, if you do that and it procs again and you don't have a lock and load, well, now you're going to apply mark shot, but mark shot's not going to get the damage increase because Deadeye or vulnerability wasn't applied to the target before you shot mark shot. So now what? Well, Patient Sniper's just going to tick, and unless you literally stop what you're doing in your entire rotation, you stop moving altogether, and you stop long enough to get 2 aim shots off. I mean, do you see what I'm talking about? It's really clunky. It's a headache. On paper, it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome, 150% damage increase, that's awesome. But then you start trying to apply it, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on a second, Blizzard. This does not feel right. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel rewarding. I mean, come on, give me a break. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So moving on to the level 75, I'm not going to cover this except for because we've already covered these abilities in other videos, but I will cover this camouflage. Oh my God, why is this? Why is this even in here? Why is this not a baseline ability? Oh boy. Oh my God. I know a lot of marksman hunters are raging about this right now. Why is this even in here as a talent, especially on the CC tree or the CC tier? It's not a crowd control, Blizzard. What are you doing? Why? I'd like to seriously know which one of you guys decided that this needed to be in the CC tree. Or the CC tier. Why do I keep saying CC tree? We have binding shot and waiver steam, same as BM, which I don't understand that either. I've come up with so many great ideas, but for right now, this is what we're stuck with. Camouflage should not be in the talent trees at all for marksmanship. It should be a baseline ability. It should be a flat baseline ability. Matter of fact, I'd go so far as to say it should be the only hunter that gets it. Period. End of discussion. Not even in the tier, not in the tree, not in honor talents, not in the artifact trait, nowhere. Marksman hunter, baseline ability only. End of discussion. There should be no argument about this. It fits the profile. It fits the spec. I mean, do you seriously think a Navy SEAL sniper has everybody even seen American Sniper? You don't think the dude's just out there waving his gun around like, oh my God, look at me, woo, 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 woo. No, he's hiding. He's hidden. He's a sniper, for God's sake. He's crouched down. He's well hidden. He's well placed. It fits the profile. Why is this even a talent? I don't understand. Listen, my mind is going blank right now. Okay? Seriously. Figure this out. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and go on a stretch here and tell you what they should have done. Actually, second thought, no. I'm going to go with that in another video. Told you there were going to be a lot of hunter videos this weekend, so brace yourself. Brace yourself. Alright, be looking for videos that are titled What They Should Have Done with the Hunters. Alright. Level 90 tier, you already know what I always do. For marksman hunters, it's impossible to drain your focus, so go Barrage. Barrage does the most damage by far out of all these, because you can use this 3 times in a minute as opposed to this in 1 minute. So yeah, this does like 1.2, 1.3 million damage in 1 minute, whereas this does like 750,000. So yeah, definitely gonna want to take Barrage. Volley in a PvE environment, I can see why you'd want this, because this is a little, you know, it's a little unreliable at times. So I'd stick with Volley. Stick with Volley in a PvE raid environment, or in a, you know, in a dungeon environment. But PvP, yeah, stick with Barrage all the way. Sidewinders, piercing shot, trick shot, complete. This is just another ability. I just want to just strangle somebody or something. Somebody find me a stuffed animal, because this is just God Zeus, really. Aim shot will now ricochet and hit all vulnerable targets for 30% of normal damage. If there are no other vulnerable targets, you increase the damage of your next aim shot by 15%. Okay. I can't even dignify that with a response. Moving on to piercing shot. Powerful shot deals up to 450,000 physical damage to the target and up to half as much damage to all enemies between you and the target. Ooh, really nice. 20 to 100 focus. So the more focus you spend, the more damage it does. That's why it says up to. Now, 30-second cooldown, maximum range, because it is a shot from range, obviously. This is really nice. I love this ability. It's a glorious ability. Use this in conjunction with the Honor Talent True Shot Mastery. You got something going here, boys. I shall explain why later. Great opener right here. Great opener, because it can literally do 1 million damage. Now, if it crits. Sidewinders replaces Arcane and Multi-Shot, generates 55 focus, launches a Sidewinder that travels toward the target, weaving back and forth and dealing 80,000 plus nature damage to the target. Cannot hit the same target twice. Applies vulnerable to all targets hit. Okay. So, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this is got promise, but most hunters take this in PvP. And I've even heard some of them even taking PvE. They just prefer this because it's guaranteed to put vulnerable on the target, or Deadeye if you take Patient Sniper. But again, this ability is so slow. Let me get out here and show you what I mean. This ability is so god dang slow, alright? Let me just prove a point here. You're going to get out here to max range, because you're never going to be right in somebody's grill. At least you better not be, especially as marksman. So look at this. Blizzard. Are you kidding me? I literally, I gotta see this again. Okay, so, Okay, so, like, was it just me, or did it feel like that Sidewinder was almost as slow, probably just as slow, getting to the target as Explosive Shot was? That's ridiculous. That's retarded. Why? What purpose does this serve? Like, how hard is it to just make a shot? Just do this a little bit. Just weave and bob just a little bit. Is this going towards the target? Has anybody ever seen a pitcher throw a knuckleball in baseball? Make it like that. Just make it. Just do this. Is it going? Is this going towards the target? That's not that hard. Blizzard, it ain't that. Or better yet, make it do this. Make it spin. You know, like an actual freaking Sidewinder. Has anybody actually seen a Sidewinder before? I was in the military for 6 years. I seen them work. You know what? Another thing that would actually benefit this and actually make it fit the profile of a Sidewinder. Make LOS not matter. Oh my God! Look at that. A genius idea. Zera, again, with these brilliant ideas. Make Sidewinders operate and available even if the target is not an LOS of you. Sidewinders can do what? They can turn, they can curve, they can cut corners. You know what I mean? Like, that would fit the profile a lot. I'm perfectly okay with this ability if you do two things to it. One, speed it the hell up. And number two, no LOS required. No LOS required. It's literally a homing beacon now. It is a homing shot. Do you have any idea how awesome this would be to a marksman hunter in PvP? Overpowered? I don't think so. It doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. It really doesn't. As a matter of fact, if a hunter is specifically only using it because he can use it and it doesn't require LOS, that's actually not very beneficial to him because he's wasting his vulnerability. I just think it would fit the profile. It would fit the fantasy of something called a Sidewinder. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. But I think that would be cool. I think it would fit. Let's move on to the hunter talents. Again, we're not going to cover the first 4 tiers. I'm covering those in another video because they're all the same for hunters. Dear God, they're all the same. Unlike other classes that have completely different options, we get stuck with shitty options that are the exact same on all 3 specs. I have no idea why. They're trying to get rid of class homogenization. Well, they did a bang-up job with the hunters. That's all I got to say. Alright, TNT reduces the cooldown of bursting shot by 10 seconds. Oh, dear God, bursting shot. I'm going over that in another video, but let's just put it this way. I'll touch on it just briefly. Bursting shot is literally the worst crowd control ability in the entire game. It misses like 80% of the time. Seriously. Like, the target would literally have to be standing, like, let me compare. This lady right here, I would have to literally, this trajectory, this exact angle, maybe a little bit more to the right. This right here, I have literally be standing right in front of my target like this and have missed. I cannot begin to describe the level of pissed off that I was spun into when I missed with bursting shot from this range. Okay? Because this ability has got such a crappy range, such a crappy means of AE, that if you have the slightest latency, and by the way, my latency is excellent. So if I'm missing with 65, 66 latency, yeah, there's probably no hope for any of us because that's just horrible. Blizzard, horrible. Watch my video about what you should have done with Marksmanship Hunters. It explains what you how to fix this. Scatter Shot. Glad to see this back. I love seeing this back. I freaked when I saw this was coming back. But then I realized that we lost our traps. Okay, so like having Scatter Shot without a freeze trap is like having a pizza with no cheese on it. Okay? You see my point? Pizza. No cheese on it. Man, you might as well just throw the pizza away. Seriously. Oh, because basically all you got in your hand is a loaf of bread. I ain't playing. That's all you got. You ain't got no cheese on it. It's just a piece of bread. That's what this is. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. You have Scatter Shot without a freeze trap. Ever since vanilla, okay? Ever since vanilla, back when hunters were actually somewhat difficult to play and master, because you had to actually feign death to activate your traps, you had to time it right, you had to justify when and where to do certain things, and you had to actually get in melee range to wing clip, raptor strike, whatever else. You had to gauge when to come into melee and when to stay at range. There was a lot of things going on. Scatter Shot into a freeze trap was like a clinical, like, step-by-step process of what you had to do. And for years, hunters used that in high-rating arena play. A lot of high-ranking hunters I know watched them do this. They would scatter, and the other opposing team would say, oh, I just got Scatter Shot, I'm fixing it freeze trap. So you'd see, say, a Spell Reflect come up. You know what I'm saying? Or a Grounding Totem come out to try to absorb that trap. They would destroy the trap, or they would eat the Spell Reflect just so they can get a free freeze trap off. They'd juke the other team because it was so obvious what was going to happen. Now, what are you saying, Zera? Why do you want such an obvious combo to come back? I'm not saying I want such an obvious comeback into our gameplay. What I'm saying is that having a scatter shot without a freeze trap or something similar to a freeze trap is pointless. I don't want no pizza with no cheese on it, man. You know what I'm saying? This is just, it's pointless by itself. It does no good. It was never designed to be a standalone crowd control. It never was, never has been. Now the only thing it's useful for now, at best, is an interrupt for spellcasters. That's it. Or maybe give you a few extra seconds to get away from a rogue or a warrior. But let's face it, rogue's evasion is popped. This is gonna miss. Kaput. A capiche. Okay? End of discussion. And if you're in a BG or in an arena, either one, sure, this removes all harmful magic effects, but somebody, if there's a straight auto attack or AE ability going on, this is gonna break it. This was designed to be used in conjunction with the freeze trap. That's what I'm trying to say. Or in conjunction with, say, I mean, yeah, now you could probably use it in conjunction with maybe a sheep, maybe, or possibly even a wyvern sting. But again, I digress. This would be more beneficial to a hunter, a marksmanship hunter rather, if this was a baseline ability. Take bursting shot and throw it out. It's worthless. It's no good to us. Bring scatter shot back as a baseline ability and free this up for something else. Throwing it out there. Just an idea. Freezing arrow, like the potential this has, but again, I digress. You gotta sit still for almost 2 seconds to get this off. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, you make this castable while moving, maybe we got something. We got something there. And we got something there. But you gotta sit still for 2 seconds. There's a whole lot of standing still going on with marksmanship hunters, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I do not like it. You gotta sit still to cast wind burst, you gotta sit still to cast aim shot, you gotta sit still to cast freezing arrow. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit the fantasy of being a hunter, because hunters have never been the kind in PvP to sit still. You're supposed to be kiting constantly staying at maximum range, constantly creating distance from you and your opponent. You know, casters you don't really have to worry about because they've already got extended range, but especially melee, you sure as hell are not going to be within 20-25 yards of a warrior or a rogue, because you don't want them to shadow step you, you don't want them to charge you, you don't want them to heroic leap on top of you. You stay at maximum range. That's how you're successful. But if you got to sit still for an aim shot, wind burst, and even a freezing arrow now, with so many classes having so many means of gap closures, now my god, a freaking Fury Warrior can have 2 heroic leaps and 2 charges. Prot Warriors have got a dragon charge that's just, oh my god, can they cover ground so fast now. You know what I'm saying? And subtlety rogues, don't even get me started on subtlety rogues. Like, burst of speed be damned, because them suckers can cover some ground, man. As long as they're within, 25-30 yards of you. I'm telling you, dude. They can be on top of you all day. You're impossible to get away from. And feral druids with pouncing strikes and feral charge, good luck. Good luck sitting still. You will get smoked. There's no way you're getting this off. No way. Alright, moving on to the last tier. Sniper shot. Let's just go ahead and start from the right and go left. Again, another disappointment. I saw this and I thought, wow, this could work. But originally, this ability had 60 some odd yard range. It could actually work then. Now it just doesn't work at all. Because it only lasts 10 seconds, but it's a dang near a 3-second cast, so literally by the time it's off cooldown, you got to start channeling it again to be able to maintain its duration, to maintain its bonus. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, Blizzard. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. How many times can I say it? It's just not going to work. Sorry. I wish I could say otherwise, but it just ain't. It just ain't. Sure, this might give you an opportunity to say get that freezing arrow off. And it'd be nice to have a binding shot that would have a freaking, 47, 50-yard range. That'd be cool. But its damage is minimal. My God, your piercing shot does way more damage. Barrage does way more damage. You know what I'm saying? This doesn't feel like a sniper shot because it doesn't feel like it's doing a great deal of damage. I would much rather see this get removed from the honor talents and bring it in here and replace Sentinel and buff its damage and range of all shots by 40%. That way it's actually on par with Patient Sniper. Now you can have a pure PvE talent that keeps you in a raid 60, 70 yards away from the action, but all your damage will be buffed by 40% at all times, on top of vulnerability 75%. Then you've actually got some decent damage coming out. You stack that with True Aim's 15 or 16%, man, you got something working. You stack that with Lone Wolf's 18%, man, you got some serious deeps coming out now. You don't have to worry about Patient Snipers not proccing when you need it to. But as it stands, they put this in the PvP talent. I don't understand why. But again, there it is. It's up to you. If you want to be that kind of hunter that's standing still all the time in PvP, go ahead. Help yourself. It ain't going to be me, though, I'll tell you that much. Spray and Pray reduces the cooldown of Sidewinders by 30%. Now, this would also, if we change, let's go ahead and change this. Let's change Sidewinders to something else. Now, dealing damage with Bursting Shot grants Bombardment. Bombardment now also reduces the global cooldown of multi-shot by half a second. Alright, so when I first read that, I thought, man, that'd be nice. Reducing the global cooldown on multi-shot so you can spray it around all over the place. But this is only useful when you're hitting multiple targets. Again, Spray and Pray, the way it's designed, aside from if you take the Sidewinders, feels more like a PvE, man. Feels more PvE-ish. Spreading AoE all over the place. That's not going to help you in PvP because, again, multi-shot's damage is minimal. Like, stupid minimal. I mean, look at this. 17,000 damage? What? Even if it crit, you're talking maybe 35,000. At the most, 35,000. Okay, so increases damage by 60%, so 60% of a crit would put you somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 some odd thousand. 45 to 55,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, that's not gonna help you because like Arcane Shot crits and it's already gonna do more damage than that with Bombardment stacked on top of multi-shot crits. I don't know. Plus it'd give you way more focus if it crits thanks to your artifact talent. I don't know, man. It's starting to get really sad with these honor talents. Really sad. Okay, so moving on to the True Shot Mastery. Reduces the cooldown of True Shot by 30 seconds, and True Shot also restores 100% focus. Alright, so remember what I said about Piercing Shot? Alright. Especially if you take Focus Fire. This actually works out. Take Focus Fire, come into a fight, doing 15% more damage. Come in, boom, hit Piercing Shot, and it hits maximum all your focus, pour it into it, boom, 100 focus, Piercing Shot does over 500,000 damage because it's buffed by 15%, does tremendous damage, probably 600,000 actually. What's 15% of 450? My God, that's 45,000. Yeah, that's close to 530,000 easy money. If it crits, well over $1 million damage. And then you can immediately hit True Shot Aura, and instantly your focus goes back up to 150 focus if you take True Shot, if you take Patient Sniper, and then you can just start unloading your Arcane Mark rotation, because you're never going to use Aim Shot in that rotation. You will never use it. It will not happen. That's another pet peeve of mine I have with True Shot. Its rotation is stupid. You will never use an Aim Shot in this rotation because Mark Shot is where all your damage is coming from. It is way more damage than Aim Shot does. Even with Patient Sniper's proc, Aim Shot doesn't do enough damage Mark shot does all the damage. It's instant cast. You can cast it and arcane shot on the move. So your entire rotation, when you proc true shot's going to be arcane mark, arcane mark, arcane mark, arcane mark, arcane mark. That is all your rotation is ever going to be. All it's ever going to be. I feel like that's a mistake. I feel like that's wrong. I don't like that. But that's how Blizzard designed it. It's clunky. It doesn't fit the fantasy. And we are easy. My God, we are easy kill targets. I swear to God. We are literally the first thing people go after because they know that we are the easiest thing to kill. We are. Seriously. Let me give you an example. I meant to do this later, but I'm going to do it right the hell now. I was fighting one of the most popular hunters on YouTube. I'm not going to mention him by name on my stream. I was fighting him on my Guardian Druid. I was on a Guardian Druid, granted. But if I'd played my Feral Druid, it would have been no different. And I've faced many hunters on my Feral Druid because as soon as I see a hunter, I duel him and I beat the tar out of him. I'm just now learning Feral Druid. I'm a terrible Feral Druid. Terrible. But I know how to counter a hunter because I've played it for so long. What happens? Alright. Throws up his flare. He sits in his flare. Now, normally, I'd have to worry about a trap. But now I know he has no trap. Okay. I got pouncing strike, so I can sit on the edge of his flare and be within range of a pounce. So, whoop! I rake him. He's stunned. Alright. So, stun, shred, get my combo points, hit, rip. First thing he's going to do is binding, disengage. Okay. Binding, disengage. I immediately get out, hit the binding, let him have it, but what he doesn't realize is that while he was disengaging, I spent the predatory swiftness proc I got, and as soon as he hit disengage, before I got stunned from his binding, I rooted him. Not 2 seconds, he didn't go 2 feet with disengage before I rooted him. His whole disengage just got wasted. Okay. Now he has to sit the root for a full 6 seconds, while I got to sit a stun for like 2.5 seconds. I'm back on top of it. Alright. So now we're just pop, pop, pop. Okay. He scatter shots me. Cool, man. I'm down with that, yo. Scatter shots me. I'm cool with it, yo. So I'm sitting the scatter shot, right? Okay, I'm out of the scatter shot. Alright, now what do I do? Well, he's at range. He doesn't have any speed increase, but he decides that he's going to hit aspect of the cheetah. Alright, 3-minute cooldown. He wants to get maximum range on me. Alright, Shadow Meld, back in prowl. He has no bleed to apply to me, so I'm back in stealth. And I hit dash so I can avoid his flare. So I'm scooting around, figuring out where he's at, get back into position, reopen on him. Alright? I reopen on him, it does the same thing, disengages again, binds me again, boom, root him again. Okay, so we just do this same old dance again. Except now he doesn't have scatter shot. So I get back on top of him. Alright, now he bursts me. He may or may not hit me with bursting shot. Most likely, he's not going to hit me because I'm not going to be stupid enough to get hit by it. It's already got a minimal AE, so all I got to do is just dance in and out of his range. So I'm just dancing in and out of that 5-10 yard range, reapply my bleeds, and just let my bleeds do all the work. And then, as soon as I notice he uses bursting shot, I'm back on top of him. Oh, now he uses his aspect of the turtle. Alright. He uses to minimize my bleed damage. He also uses it to stop my damage. Alright, oh, okay. He can't attack me, so you know what I'm going to do? Healing touch. I heal myself back up to full. He didn't get me past 10%, but I'm just going to go ahead and heal up anyway. So now, I use Stampeding Roar. I'll get back on top of him. Alright, so now I'm back on top of him. Except now he's got scatter shot back. Alright, so he scatter shots me. Okay. So now I'm sitting this, but you know what? I'm like, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and trinket this. So I trinket it immediately when he scatter shots me. And thanks to pouncing strikes, I'm right back on top of him. Alright? But what he doesn't realize, he's fixing to disengage again, but what he doesn't realize is that I was a smart feral druid, and I held on to my predatory swiftness proc that I've had for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds since I used my last special ability, since I used my last finisher. He disengages, boom. Instant cast root. Alright, so now he's gonna get antsy, and he's gonna go ahead and use his trinket to get out of the root. Except what he doesn't realize is that I still have mass entanglement. So boop, mass entanglement. Yeah, now you're screwed. Does anybody see what I'm talking about? I mean, the hunter could play absolutely perfect against a substandard feral druid. I'm just now learning how to do the feral druid. I've never done it, and yet no hunter's beaten me yet. They can't. They have no way to stop me. And it's the same for any spec. You name any class, pick any class, any spec right now on the beta, with the exception of maybe elemental shamans, because they're doing just as bad as hunters are. And a hunter's going to lose. If that person that's playing the other class has any idea how to counter a hunter successfully, the hunter will lose. If it's marksmanship. Now BM, there is something to be said about their damage. Their damage is absurd. The burst is crazy. But if they don't have Bestial Wrath, they're in just as bad a shape as marksmanship hunters are, if not even worse, because they don't have any means of crowd control aside from that level 75 tier. That's it. Aside from this tier right here, they got nothing. They have nothing. Matter of fact, on my feral druid, I beat BM hunters easier than I do marksmanship hunters, because they got nothing. They bind me. Okay, I rooted you out of your disengage, so now what are you going to do? Oh, they blow Bestial Wrath, Shadow Meld, Prowl. I'm gone. You just wasted your biggest damage dealer. So as soon as Bestial Wrath is off, I'm going to reopen on you, and you're dead. You're dead. You will die. There's nothing you can do to stop me. You got to wait 45 seconds for your next cooldown. I still have Dash, Stampeding Roar, Pouncing Strike. So as long as I'm within 10 yards of you, you can't get away from me anyway. Plus, I still have Feral Charge, which is a 25-yard range. So I'm just curious, what was Blizzard thinking when they made these changes to the hunters? We're crippled. We have nothing. We have no way to stop any class whatsoever if the person playing that class or that spec has any experience against hunters. If he has any knowledge of the class or how to counter it, we're screwed. We're boned. I was going to say it. We're boned. Might as well just bend over the table and tell him how you like it. Lube or no lube, because we're screwed. Thanks, Blizzard. I appreciate it. Like the video, guys. Subscribe. I apologize for the the attitude or the fierceness with which I'm speaking, but this is sickening. This makes me sick. I literally want to go throw up right now, because this from the very first artifact ability to the very last freaking honor talent, I gotta shake my head, man. I gotta shake my head. I got a million ideas way better than this that don't make us overpowered. It actually fits the fantasy. And it actually gives us a fighting chance. No traps. No traps. Blizzard doesn't want to give us traps. I'm cool with that. But have some creative license. Seriously. Come up with something that fits the fantasy without crippling our gameplay or making us feel so trapped to take certain talents. You guys want to see what I mean? If you want to be successful as a marksman hunter in this expansion, this is literally the setup you have to take. That's it. You have to take this. You have to. If you want to be successful in PvP, you have to take this. In PvE too, actually. It's the only way. It's the only way. You could possibly manage this in PvP. Possibly. And you could possibly manage this in PvE. Possibly. But I'm promising you this. 99% of the hunters out there on the forums, rank 1, what have you, are going to tell you, if you're going to play marksmanship, this is the only spec you can play. Regardless of what gameplay you're doing, this is it. You have to be taken seriously, and that is a flaw. I'm outraged, to be honest. Really, I am. BM had some glaring weaknesses. Not so much in their rotation, but more so in their artifact traits. Multi-shot need to get looked at. That being part of their development just doesn't fit. Beast Cleave is too weak. Doesn't even hit the primary target. Need a couple, maybe needs at least one more. Needs a baseline crowd control. But marksmanship from top to bottom, left to right, north, south, east, and west, inside out, outside in, right side up or upside down, it doesn't matter, man. No matter how you look at it. This is an embarrassment to hunters. I don't care what patch you go back to. I don't care what era you come from in this game. When you started playing World of Warcraft, if you've ever played the hunter, and you try this, I promise you, you will see what I'm talking about. It's clunky, it's got its flaws, it's got its errors, and it needs to get looked at. It needs to get completely, I would almost say, this entire design needs to get completely wiped off the map and given a clean slate. But it is manageable. It is most certainly manageable, and I've even come up with ideas for it. Link in the description below. Please go watch that video. Share this with your friends and share it on social media. Get Blizzard's attention, guys. I'm going to make a campaign freaking begging, even pleading with Blizzard to get the hunters fixed. Because right now, I literally want to die inside because this has been my class since launch back in 2004, and I can't play it anymore. I cannot bring myself to play this class anymore because of how utterly horrible it feels. That's all I got, guys, for this one. Survival's coming up next. Be sure to check that out. If you ain't seen BM's video, be sure to check my channel out. It'll be on there on my list of, not guides, but my list of reviews. So be sure to check that out also. And there will also be a video going over all of the hunter changes, what I recommend for each individual spec, what their baseline abilities need to be changed to and from, what should be exchanged, what should be scrapped, and what changes I think could actually fix the hunters in general. So be sure looking out for that video as well. Love you guys. See you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed this. Zera